Did you know that the small habits you follow each morning might quietly be stealing a decade from your healthy years? You get up, settle into the same chair, sip from the same mug of coffee, and little by little, without any warning, life begins to feel more narrow, more muted, more empty. Not because you're getting older, but because somewhere along the road, a part of you stopped reaching out for more. In today's video, I'll walk you through 9 subtle but damaging mistakes that can quietly erode your later years, and more importantly, how to gently undo them with small, intentional changes you can begin right away. These aren't massive life overhauls, but they can help protect your joy, your dignity, and preserve your independence for much longer than you think. Don't wait for a crisis. Your body, your mind, and your spirit are asking for care now. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and what time is it for you right now? Drop a comment below. I truly enjoy hearing from you. And if this message resonates with your heart, simply type the word HOPE. If you find value here, feel free to subscribe so you won't miss more simple yet meaningful health guidance just like this. Let's begin with the first quiet mistake, one that might already be unfolding right there in your own living room. Mistake number 1, believing that passion fades with age. I hear this all the time from older adults. I'm too old for that now. Whether it's painting, gardening, playing an instrument, or telling stories, many of us lay these things down quietly and never return. Not because the love disappeared, but because life pulled us in other directions. And eventually, we convinced ourselves those joys no longer belong to us. But here's the honest truth. Passion doesn't leave because you turn 70, it fades when you stop nurturing it. I once met Edward, a retired mailman from Ohio who used to play guitar every evening in his younger days. But as life moved on, his wife passed, his children moved away, and for over a decade, the guitar sat untouched in the corner of his home. Then one day, his granddaughter asked, "Grandpa, what made you happy when you were my age?" That simple question stirred something deep inside. He picked up the guitar again. His fingers were stiff, the strings sounded a little off, but the grin on his face was genuine. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that older adults who stay mentally engaged through hobbies or creative activities face up to 30% less risk of cognitive decline. So if you think it's too late, it's not. In fact, this stage of life might be the perfect time. Your passion doesn't have to be big or impressive. It just has to be yours. Maybe it's sending handwritten notes, baking your favorite childhood cookies, sketching flowers in the backyard, or dancing slowly to music from decades ago. These aren't trivial acts, they're nourishment for your spirit. So today, I gently encourage you, revisit something you used to love. Not to be great at it, but simply to feel like you again. And if something stirs in your heart, a hobby, a memory, a forgotten dream, share it below. Or just type HOPE if you're ready to invite a little light back into your days. Because the greatest mistake isn't aging. It's believing that you've stopped truly living. Mistake number 2, relying too heavily on your children for emotional fulfillment. Now, don't get me wrong, missing your children is completely natural. You love them, you raised them, and when they moved out, a part of your heart went with them. Of course, you look forward to their visits, their phone calls, the laughter of your grandchildren. But here's where it becomes quietly painful, when those moments become your only source of joy. I remember Dorothy, 72, from Wisconsin. Every Sunday, she waited by the phone for a call from her daughter. If it didn't come, her whole day felt gray. And when it did, even a short call, her entire face lit up. But over the years, the calls became less frequent. The visits felt rushed. And slowly, she began to feel invisible, as though her world had shrunk to the size of a screen. That's the danger. When your happiness becomes too tightly wrapped around people living busy lives of their own, you start to feel left behind. Not because they don't love you, but because you may have forgotten to keep building a life of your own. According to Harvard Health, older adults with more diverse social circles, not just family, but friends, neighbors, and community ties, tend to live 5 to 7 years longer. And more than that, they feel better. They smile more, they stay active, they worry less. Why? Because connection isn't just about family, it's about belonging. And you, my friend, still have so much to give. You don't need a crowd or a club to get started. Just call that neighbor you used to see by the mailbox. Send a lighthearted postcard to someone you miss. Join a local group or take a short walk with someone once a week. These small moments refill your spirit. They remind you that life is still wide, still meaningful, and not just centered around someone else's calendar. And as you rebuild these connections, something beautiful happens. You start enjoying time with your family even more, because they're no longer your only lifeline. So I ask you gently, who's one person you could reconnect with this week? If someone came to mind, write their name in the comments or just type HOPE if your heart is ready to open a little wider. In the next part, we'll explore a habit that begins in the body but quietly affects the mind in ways you might not realize. Mistake number 3 may seem small, but over time it wears you down, thinking it's too late to care for your health. I understand how tempting it is to say, what's the point now? You've lived a long life, you've worked hard, raised your family, endured more than most people know. So maybe a part of you whispers, my body's been through enough, why bother anymore? But friend, that's exactly when your body needs your kindness most. I once met Mr. Leonard, 78, a retired woodworker from Oregon. He used to be strong, always on the move, fixing things around the house, helping neighbors. But after his wife passed, something shifted. Mistake number 3, thinking it's too late to take care of your body. After his wife passed, Leonard stopped cooking. He'd grab whatever was easiest, crackers, frozen meals, and spent most of his days sitting alone. When I asked him why, he simply shrugged and said, I'm old, it doesn't really matter anymore. But within just 6 months, he found himself struggling to climb the steps to his porch. He began forgetting small things. That's when he realized maybe it did matter after all. Here's what the science says. According to Cleveland Clinic, just 20 minutes of walking each day can lower a senior's risk of stroke by nearly 40%. That's not a gym workout, that's a slow stroll down your street, or a gentle walk through the garden with a cup of tea in hand. Yes, aging changes the body. It moves slower, needs more rest, and doesn't bounce back like it used to. But here's the hope. It still listens. Even small gestures of care, a few stretches in the morning, a glass of water before breakfast, choosing a warm bowl of soup instead of chips make a difference. You don't need a personal trainer or fancy gear. You just need a willingness to move, even a little, and a quiet belief that you're still worth taking care of. And you are. This body has carried you through decades of life. It deserves to be strong enough to enjoy what you've worked so hard to build, whether that's walking alongside your grandkids or simply getting out of bed without aching. So let me gently ask, what's one tiny act of care you can give your body today? Even standing up and reaching your arms overhead right now, it counts. And if you're ready to start showing your body that love again, drop the word hope in the comments. Mistake number 4, putting off joy by saving for someday. Now let's talk about something that feels responsible but quietly robs you of joy. Saving for someday and forgetting to live today. This is more common than we admit. I think of Edna, 75, from Pennsylvania. She spent her life working hard, raising 3 children on a tight income. She rarely spent money on herself, always clipping coupons and watching every penny. Even in retirement with plenty in the bank, she still lived as if she were barely getting by. Her clothes were threadbare, her meals were plain. And when I gently asked why she didn't treat herself now and then, she smiled and said, I'm saving it just in case. But here's the quiet heartbreak. Edna was saving her happiness for a future that never arrived. A study by AARP found that intentional spending on small joys, things like fresh flowers, a painting class, or paying someone to help with housework, can significantly reduce depression among older adults. It's not about spending more. It's about spending with purpose. Yes, a full savings account brings a sense of safety, but if we protect it so fiercely that joy can't get in, we begin to shrink. We swap joy for control, color for caution. And before we even notice, we're surviving but not really living. You didn't work for decades just to keep counting dollars. You worked so that one day, you could finally enjoy what you've earned. So go ahead, treat yourself to that fresh pastry, plan that little getaway, or say yes to something that brings a spark to your day. Not because it's sensible, but because you are worth it. Let me ask you something softly. When was the last time you spent money not out of necessity, but simply to feel joy? Not to pay a bill or replace something broken, but to smile, to feel proud, to savor beauty? If it's been too long, maybe today is the perfect day to begin again. Even a small gesture like fresh flowers on the kitchen counter can shift your whole mood. And if this speaks to you, type hope in the comments, because sometimes hope doesn't look like a big change. Sometimes it looks like a steaming mug, a favorite chair, or the comfort of a homemade slice of pie. Mistake number 5, believing it's too late to begin again. Next, let's talk about a belief that holds more people back than they realize, and how starting over has nothing to do with age and everything to do with quiet courage. Mistake number 5 might be the most invisible of all, thinking it's too late to start again. Maybe you've whispered it to yourself, that part of my life is over, or I miss my moment. It's easy to feel that way, especially once the routines settle, the children are grown, and the busyness gives way to stillness. But here's something many don't realize. Your brain, even into your 70s and 80s, still craves growth. According to the University of California, older adults can form new habits and keep learning well into their 90s as long as they stay curious and feel purposeful. I think of James, 81, from North Carolina. After his wife passed, he drifted into loneliness. Most days were spent with canned soup, reruns, and the quiet thought, I guess this is just how things are now. But then his grandson nudged him to try something new, a watercolor class at the community center. That first day, he nearly turned around at the door. But he walked in anyway, and to his surprise, he laughed. He met people, and suddenly, he had something to look forward to every Tuesday. Starting again doesn't require a big move or major change. It can be something as gentle as stretching in the morning, trying a new recipe, signing up to help at the library, or dusting off a book you always meant to read. The challenge isn't age. It's the quiet belief that age means we stop becoming. And that thought more than anything is what closes doors that are still open. If we don't question that belief, we begin to drift. The days blur, our purpose fades, and joy dims to a whisper. But just one small decision, one yes, can bring warmth and color back into the day. So let me ask you this. What's one thing you've always dreamed of doing but convinced yourself it was too late? Take a quiet moment to reflect. If something comes to mind, I invite you to share it in the comments. Or simply type hope if you feel ready to open a new chapter, because tomorrow doesn't have to look exactly like today. And who knows, the next page in your story may turn out to be the most meaningful yet. Coming up, we'll explore a habit that seems safe and familiar but can gradually shut the door on life's richness without us even realizing it. Mistake number 6. Repeating the same day until you forget what day it is. Mistake number 6 often sneaks in quietly, living the same day over and over until you're not quite sure what day it even is. At first, the routine feels comforting. You wake up, brew your coffee, sit in the same spot, watch the same program. But slowly, without much notice, your days begin to blend together, and something deep within you starts to go quiet. I once spoke to Helen, 79, from Missouri. She said, "I used to know when it was Tuesday that was Bible study day. Now the only day I recognize is Sunday, when I hear the church bells down the street." She wasn't depressed, she wasn't ill, but her world had slowly shrunk, and that shrinking made her feel like she was slowly fading. Here's what we now know. According to Johns Hopkins, a lack of variety in our daily life can contribute to faster memory decline and confusion in older adults. When your brain stops encountering new or interesting stimuli, it begins to slow down not just in memory, but in energy and identity. And no, this isn't about pressuring yourself into some grand new hobby. That's not the point. This is about gentle shifts, like taking a different path during your morning walk, calling someone you haven't spoken to in ages, or trying a new music playlist while doing household chores. Small, intentional changes reawaken your mind. They remind your brain and your heart that you're still present, still growing, still you. Even the simplest things count. Rearranging the furniture, learning a new soup recipe, or standing outside to watch the sunset from a different angle. These moments whisper to your mind, "I'm alive. I still care. I'm still learning." So I ask you, when was the last time you tried something for the very first time? If you can't remember, that's okay. But maybe today is a chance to try something just a little bit different. And if your heart is ready to reawaken, even just a little, type hope in the comments. Because life doesn't end when the busy years slow down. It begins again when we start paying attention. Mistake number 7, holding on to draining relationships, out of fear of loneliness. Now let's talk about something tender, the relationships in your life, and how some of them may be quietly draining more energy than you think. Mistake number 7 is rarely spoken out loud, yet so many live it, staying in toxic or emotionally exhausting relationships simply because we're afraid of being alone. Let's be honest, loneliness is real. I won't pretend it's not. We all long for someone to talk to, someone who makes us feel seen, heard, remembered. But sometimes, in that deep desire to stay connected, we hold on to people who leave us feeling even more isolated than if we were alone. That's not companionship. That's emotional fatigue disguised as familiarity. I think of Walter, 73, from Ohio. He used to meet up weekly for lunch with an old coworker from the factory. But each time he came home, he felt completely drained, not from walking, but from absorbing hours of complaints and quiet criticism about his life choices. He admitted, "I don't even enjoy it anymore, but we've been friends for 40 years. What else would I do?" That kind of pattern wears you down slowly, but deeply. Here's something I want you to truly hear. Just because someone has been part of your past doesn't mean they deserve space in your present. The National Institute on Aging tells us that chronic stress, even from conversations or interactions, can raise your risk of heart issues, disrupt your sleep, and weaken your immune system. This isn't just about how you feel emotionally. It's about your overall health. And no, this doesn't mean you have to cut people off or erase your history. But you do have the right to protect your emotional space. You are allowed to say, "This isn't good for me right now," or "I need to take a step back." Boundaries aren't rejection, they're protection. Sometimes, setting a limit is the first step toward a healthier relationship, not the end of one. As we grow older, our energy becomes sacred. You don't need a crowd. You just need a small circle, a few people who lift you up, not wear you down. So ask yourself with gentleness, is there someone you've kept around more out of fear than true connection? You deserve relationships that feel calm, kind, and nourishing. And if this message resonates with you, type hope in the comments, not just for new relationships, but for a deeper peace you fully deserve. Mistake number 8, forgetting to nourish your spirit. Next, let's go a little deeper because just like your body, your spirit also needs care. Mistake number 8 is easy to miss, but its effects run deep, neglecting your spiritual life. You take care of the essentials, your home, your prescriptions, your meals. But let me ask you gently, when was the last time you checked in with your soul? Not your cholesterol or your knees, but the quiet space within you. I remember speaking with Dorothy, 77, from Colorado. She had a habit of journaling every morning, nothing fancy. A few reflections, a simple prayer, a memory that surfaced out of nowhere. But as life got harder, as her husband's health declined, those small, sacred moments slipped away. Years later, she sat down to write again for the first time. I didn't realize how much I missed myself, she told me through tears. I didn't cry because I was sad, I cried because I felt real again. As we get older, it's easy to think spiritual care is extra, something optional. But the truth is, your soul still hungers for attention. According to the National Institutes of Health, older adults who tend to their spiritual well-being, whether through faith, gratitude, mindfulness, or connection with nature, experience up to 25% lower rates of anxiety and depression. And no, spirituality doesn't have to look like church pews or scripture. It might be sitting quietly with your tea and listening to the breeze, lighting a candle in honor of someone you love, or simply closing your eyes and whispering a quiet thank you at the end of a long day. Your inner world matters, because when the soul stays silent too long, we lose touch with wonder, with meaning, with peace. And you, dear friend, deserve all three. So today, I invite you to return not to a destination, but to yourself. Pick up a pen, listen to soft music, say a prayer, or simply take a slow walk through your garden without distractions or expectations. Just presence, just you. If you feel like your spirit has been patiently waiting, then this is your gentle moment to come back to it. And if you're ready to begin that quiet reconnection, even just a little, type hope in the comments. Let it be a small promise to your own soul. Mistake number 9, thinking there's nothing new left to find. Now let's talk about something many believe is lost forever, the joy of discovery, and why that sense of wonder still lives inside you, even now. Mistake number 9 is a quiet one, but it can make the world feel flat, believing there's nothing left to uncover. I've heard it said by many with a tired smile, I guess the best parts of life are behind me, and I get it. You've lived through so much, the highs, the heartbreaks, the unexpected turns. You've endured, grown, loved, and let go. So of course, it can feel like the story has already been written. But what if that belief is gently stealing something beautiful from you? I once met Jean, 76, who told me she hadn't felt truly curious in years until one afternoon, her great-grandson asked, "Grandma, have you ever made banana bread from scratch?" She chuckled and said no. That simple moment turned into an afternoon of laughter, flour-covered aprons, and a delightfully sunken loaf of bread. Later, she told me, I hadn't felt that alive in a very, very long time. That's the thing about discovery, it doesn't have to mean flying across the world or starting over. According to psychology and aging, some of life's deepest emotional wisdom, like forgiveness, purpose, and inner peace, often blooms after the age of 65. So maybe right now isn't the end of the adventure. Maybe it's the richest part of it. New doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be something as gentle as sipping a tea you've never tried before, standing at a different window to watch the sunrise, or noticing the warmth in a stranger's smile at the grocery store. But here's the quiet danger. When we stop expecting something new, we stop noticing it. And when we stop noticing, we miss the soft, magical moments that bring life back into focus, even in the smallest ways. So from my heart to yours, I ask, when was the last time something pleasantly surprised you? The last time you tasted something new? Learned something unexpected? If it's been a while, that's okay. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Even today, a small, beautiful discovery may be waiting just outside your usual routine. You don't need permission, just a little curiosity. And if this resonates with you, go ahead and type hope in the comments, because curiosity isn't just for the young. It belongs to the open-hearted, a quiet ending, and a gentle truth about aging. Before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with one simple reminder, one truth we've gently returned to again and again. It's never too late to care for yourself, body, heart, or spirit. Sometimes the smallest decisions bring the deepest comfort. Whether it's rediscovering an old hobby, loosening the grip on a draining relationship, or simply choosing a new path to the mailbox, these seemingly minor shifts matter. They whisper to your soul, "I'm still here, I still matter." If something in today's message stayed with you, a phrase, a story, a feeling, I'd love to know. Feel free to share it in the comments, or if that feels too big, just type the word hope. That single word holds so much. If this message touched you, I hope you'll consider subscribing and turning on the bell so you don't miss the next quiet reflection. And maybe share it with someone you care about, someone who might need a soft reminder that their story isn't over. And now, wherever this finds you, I hope your next cup of tea is warm. I hope your shoulders feel a little lighter. And above all, I hope you remember, even in stillness, your story is still unfolding. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.